Are you playing energy on this supply side based rally?
Yeah, really are. And I think that one of the more important things is that the supply and demand dynamics in the global market got to balance a lot quicker than the marketplace had thought. So we're seeing global balance in supply and demand in the first quarter of this year versus the first quarter of next year. That's the important part of the story. Saudi Arabia and the cartel have done a lot to keep the demand side in check here, and I think that's going to continue to be the case. So when we look at that, and to the chart that you just pointed out, you couldn't have led that any better when you think about the fact that we've seen a natural increase in the price per barrel of oil that's coming from both supply and demand being in balance, and the equity complex just not playing along just yet. And I think that's where the real opportunity set lies.
But the issue, of course, Riad, is that if we have a prices rollover, if the worst case scenario doesn't materialize, and Riad, some of the rhetoric of that is A, Saudi Arabia is going to pump more, B, the Iranians can wind up selling more to China, for example, because they can buy on the futures contract. Are there workarounds that the market's not realizing yet?
Look, the markets the markets again are pricing in that Trump will pull out. If he doesn't, you might see a pullback in that. The Saudis, though, have been firm in that they want the prices up. We have indications, reports. We have a story out there saying that Saudis are really aiming for a price of $80. So the idea that they're going to just ramp up supply is not a sure thing, because you have to then think of the Aramco IPO, which is a big part of Saudi thinking at the moment. So they're looking for those $80, at least that's what the reports we have are saying, to pump up the valuation of the Aramco IPO, which is such a key part of the reform happening in Saudi Arabia.
So, Art, it's pretty clear to everybody that increased oil prices are good for energy companies. What about the rest of us? What does it do to the rest of us? At what point do higher oil prices really weigh on overall growth in the United States or more broadly, particularly in light of we're, 83% of the way through the earnings season, and people have been a little skittish about input costs?
Yeah, that's for sure. And obviously energy prices, higher energy prices are going to act as a drag on the economy, but not as much as they used to. We're much more productive, whether it's in power generation or in driving ourselves. So to the extent that if we were talking about this increase coming into driving season 5 or 10 years ago, we'd have a much bigger concern in terms of how much that cuts into GDP growth. I think that it's certainly something to pay close attention to, but in terms of the order of magnitude that it actually slows the economy down, it's more of a nuisance than it is actually structurally a big change.